Hello, folks. Today I'm going to talk about the fights that happened this past week in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. I'm going to give you my opinion about these fights. I'm going to start with the first fight between Josh Buatsi, a 19-0 fighter with 13 KOs, ranked number 2 in the light heavyweight division. He fought the number 1 ranked light heavyweight, ex-WBA champion at 168 pounds with a 30-2 record, Callum. The fight was a very good fight. It went 12 rounds, and they went at it for 12 rounds. It was like a slugfest. Very entertaining fight. Callum won on a decision, and one of the reasons I believe Callum won that fight is because Callum was digging to the body to Joshua Buatsi, and Joshua Buatsi couldn't deal with that. And Callum happened to be a little bit more aggressive than Buatsi. Also, too, the cornerman of Callum, which is Buddy McGirt Jr., was giving Callum good advice. And I believe that made a difference in Callum winning the fight. So congratulations to Callum on winning this fight. He did a good job. The fight was very good, very entertaining, and the fan enjoyed that fight. And the second fight, you have the number 1 ranked WBC heavyweight, Agit Kabayel from Germany, fighting Zhang from China, now residing out of Bloomfield, New Jersey, and that was a good fight. Agit Kabayel record is 25-0 with 17 KOs. Zhang's record is 27 wins, 2 losses, and 1 draw with 22 KOs. And they went at it right from the beginning. And I believe the difference in this fight was the aggressiveness of Agit Kabayel. He was very aggressive. He didn't respect Zhang power. And also, too, Zhang looked out of shape. He looked like he wasn't in good shape. And combine that with his age, he's 41 years old, everything took his toll. Agit Kabayel knocked him out with a body shot. I believe he dropped him twice already, and then he knocked him out in the 6th round. So congratulations to Agit Kabayel. He did a good job. He's looking pretty good. He should get a title fight after this. It was the number 1 and I believe the number 2 fighters, and the winner was supposed to get a title fight. So congratulations to him. Anthony Joshua shook his hand after he won, congratulating him because it was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. Also, Agit Kabayel got dropped. I believe in the first 3 rounds he got dropped, but he came back and he fought his heart out. So a big congratulations to Agit Kabayel. On the third fight, you had Vergil Ortiz Jr., a 22-0 record, 21 knockout, versus Israil Madrimov, the ex-champ, with a 10-win, 1 loss, 1 draw record. This fight was a very tough fight for both of these fighters. Israil Madrimov, he fought pretty good. He boxed, he moved around. He has a lot of experience for a fighter with only 12 or 13 fights. He moved around pretty good, and he didn't stay still in front of Vergil Ortiz. Vergil Ortiz looked very slow in this fight, very reluctant to engage, and he didn't throw a lot of punches. The fight took off after about the 6th or 7th round when Vergil Ortiz started being more aggressive. As the fight progressed, Vergil Ortiz's face was all bruised up. After the fight, you should have seen Vergil Ortiz's face all bruised up. But Vergil Ortiz took it to him, to Madrimov, in the last few rounds, and that's why he was able to pull off a decision. Vergil Ortiz is a nice guy, a strong guy, and he's he's very aggressive if he could get you in the ring. If he fights a mover, somebody that boxes, Vergil Ortiz I believe has a hard time. So big congratulations to Vergil Ortiz. Israil Madrimov was doing a lot of dirty stuff in the ring, like banging Vergil Ortiz with his head, also his using his shoulder to hit Vergil Ortiz. And he did get warned by the referee to cut it out. But it was a good fight overall. Vergil Ortiz wants to challenge Sebastian Fundora, and that's going to be a tough fight because Sebastian Fundora is 6'6". Also, too, Oscar De La Hoya mentioned that he want to hook up Vergil Ortiz versus Terence Crawford. I don't give Vergil Ortiz no chance if he fights Terence Crawford. None at all. I don't see that happening, not one bit. I believe he will get knocked out by Terence Crawford. On the next fight, you have the WBC middleweight champion from Santo Domingo with a 24-1 record and 18 KOs, Carlos Alamen, defending his title against Hamzah Sheeraz from the UK with a 21-0 record and 15 KOs. Right before the fight, Carlos Alamen mentioned that he has to look impressive and win all the rounds in order for him to get a decision. And one of the reasons I believe he said that is because Hamzah Sheeraz is Arabic. And I believe that Carlos Alamen won the fight. He won at least 8 or 9 rounds. And I believe he did enough to win the fight. But at the end of the fight, they ruled it a draw. So Carlos Alamen was able to save his championship belt. And Hamzah Sheeraz was able to save his undefeated record. And I believe that that was done because Sheeraz is Arabic. Before the 12th round, Turkey Al-Sheikh was mentioned to the cornerman, Hamzah Sheeraz, that he's down on the fight, that he has to step it up. So I believe that influenced the judge to rule it a draw. Am I mad that that happened? No. It's business. Sheeraz is an Arabic fighter. There's a lot of investors and sponsors in this fight. Throughout the whole fights, all these fights, they kept mentioning the sponsors, the advertisers, whoever's paying for these advertising for the fight, like the Saudi Bank and so forth. So that's one of the reasons they kept his record intact. He got a hometown decision, which to keep it a draw. And Carlos Alamen was able to keep his title because it was a draw. Carlos Alamen, I believe, got robbed. And right after the fight, they mentioned that they might have a rematch. Who knows? But I believe it was a hometown decision. As far as Hamzah Sheeraz, unless he step it up in his fights, I don't see him advancing too far. He mentioned he broke his hand or he hurt his hand and he couldn't continue. And I did notice that throughout the fight that he stopped jabbing. He's a big guy, 6'3", weighs 160 pounds. He should be fighting like a big guy. And he kind of like froze up throughout that fight. He needs a lot more fights and a lot more training. And he also needs a better trainer that's going to get the aggressiveness out of him in order for him to compete against these other guys. They got guys out there, champions, they're very aggressive and they're going to take it to him. And if he can't change or adapt, he's not going to have much of a career. On the next fight after that, you have WBC lightweight champion, 22-0 with 10 KOs, Shakur Stevenson, versus Josh Padley from the UK, a part-time electrician, part-time fighter. Shakur Stevenson did a good job. He did what he had to do to beat Josh Padley. I believe he dropped him a few times with body shots, and he knocked him out in the ninth round. So I tip my hat off to Shakur Stevenson and also to Josh Padley. Padley came to fight. He didn't come to lay down, and he got to get a lot of credit. In a few days' notice, he's there. While he was in the UK, he was working as an electrician. Came back to put a good performance. So that's good for him. And I believe they will call him Josh Padley in the future because he put out. He didn't complain. He didn't cry. He came to fight. Shakur Stevens is in another level. He's in an elite level. Him and Tank Davis are going back and forth after the fight because Tank Davis mentioned that Shakur Stevens should have knocked him out, should have knocked Padley out in the first few rounds. I would like to see Tank Davis fight Shakur Stevenson. And I'm taking Shakur Stevenson to win this fight. I'm not a big fan of Tank Davis. I prefer Shakur Stevenson to win this fight. And also they mentioned that if Shakur Stevenson was to fight Andy Cruz or Keyshawn Davis, that Shakur Stevenson will lose. I don't see that happening. I see Shakur Stevenson dominating all these fighters out there at 135 pounds. They don't give him credit because he's not a real knockout artist, but he's a good fighter. He's a good boxer. He's very good defensive. It's hard to figure him out because he's real good. He's in the elite at 135 pounds. I don't give these other fighters no chance to beat Shakur Stevenson. He's that good. So tip my hat off to Shakur Stevenson. Great job. On the next fight after that, you have Martin Bakole versus Joseph Parker Jr. Martin Bakole and Joseph Parker. That would have been a good fight if Martin Bakole had a full 10 weeks of training camp and he wasn't tired from flying. Joseph Parker knocked out Martin Bakole in the second round when he caught him in the forehead and dropped him, and the referee stopped the fight. But I believe that if Martin Bakole had a good 10, 12 weeks of training camp, and he then had jet lag from flying at the last minute as a replacement, also stressing for the fight, that Martin Bakole could have beat him. Joseph Parker was in good shape. But Joseph Parker also mentioned that Martin Bakole hurt him with a few of those punches. He was hurt. And Martin Bakole and Joseph Parker are sparring partners. A lot of people don't know that. They're sparring partners. And Martin Bakole mentioned that he knows Joseph Parker real good, and he knows how to beat him. And I believe the jet lag, the stressing of the fight, trying to get your medical papers, coming to Saudi Arabia, everything took its toll on Martin Bakole. Also, he wasn't training for any fight. He was just exercising, trying to stay a little bit in shape. All that took its toll on Martin Bakole. The minute he arrived in Saudi Arabia, they check his medical records, they weigh him, he did some interviews, he went lay down, go to sleep, get some rest because he was physically and mentally tired. When he woke up, guess what? He's still tired, and he's ready to go. He took the fight. He had a conversation with his promoter and Turkey Had a Sheet if he could help him. He said, yes, no problem. You don't want to disappoint Turkey Had a Sheet. Turkey Had a Sheet in return mentioned that he's going to give him good money and some more, at least 3 more fights. And he also mentioned a title fight. So, of course, Martin Bakole said, yes, I'll take it. Make money, get a title fight, get more fights. Martin Bakole is still happy, even after he lost. After he lost, the interviewer, he had a big smile on his face. Very happy. He did the best he could. So I tip my hat off to Joseph Parker on winning and Martin Bakole for saving the night. I believe Martin Bakole, if he's in shape, he's going to beat a lot of these guys up. He's a very good, decent fighter. And he's super strong. And he's huge. 6'6", 300 plus pounds. On the next fight, I'm going to talk about undisputed light heavyweight champion Artur Bertovit with a 21-0 record and 20 KOs versus ex-champ Dmitry Bivol with a 23 win and 1 loss and 12 KOs on his record. That was a very good fight between two good fighters. On the first fight between these two, I picked Artur Bertovit to win a decision, and he won. On the second fight, I picked Dmitry Bivol to win on a decision because if he didn't win, his boxing career was over. And he did win. It was a very good fight, intense. They went at it. I had Bivol winning by maybe 2 points. The difference in this fight is that Dmitry Bivol was able to move around and counterpunch and not stay in front of Artur Bertovit. Artur Bertovit is a beast in there. Very good fighter. He throws punches. He blocks. He moves around. These are two of the best fighters in the world right here. Fighting, putting everything online. And a lot of people don't realize they're not doing it for the money. They're doing it for the legacy. These two fighters really don't like each other. But they respect each other. They respect each other's game. After they announced the decision, Dmitry Bivol had the biggest smile in the world. That's one of the few times I see Dmitry Bivol smiling, because he usually don't smile. Even after all the interviews he did after the fight, he's still smiling, he's still happy. He also congratulated Artur Bertovit for pushing him to the limit in the fight. He said, without Artur Bertovit, I would not be great. So now they're talking about a third fight. If they do fight, it's going to be sometime after September because these two gladiators need rest. They fought a very good fight. They put everything on the line. So congratulations to these two fighters. Hopefully at the end of this year, they're going to fight. Or in the beginning of 2026. Well, I'm hoping at the end of this year. And that should be real good. And I won't be surprised if Dmitry Bivol beats Artur Bertovit again on a decision, on a close decision. These are two of the best fighters. I like Artur Bertovit. I think he's a beast. He looks like he belongs in one of these spy movies where he's coming to get you. He has that face. But as a fighter, he's real good. Very good fighter. Now, also, in Saudi Arabia, you had a lot of good fighters out there. You had David Benavidez, his father was there. He's waiting for the winner. You also had Lennox Lewis. You had Roberto Duran. You had Alexander Usyk. You had Terence Crawford. You have Anthony Yarder, the light heavyweight fighter from the UK. You have a lot of fighters out there and a lot of ex-fighters promoting this fight. This was a good fight. This was a good event. The tickets were $26 through dance. So just imagine that. You got about 9 hours of entertainment for $26. What a bargain. I wouldn't be surprised, because this was shown all throughout the world. I won't be surprised that they sold over 2 million pay-per-views for this fight. At $26 a pop, that's about $52 million right there. And then the gate, there was 7,000 people there. So that's another $10 million on the gate. And then you had the sponsors, the advertisers for this fight. probably another $10 million right there. So I wouldn't be surprised they made over $60+ million for this card. And if they did, it was a success. They made money on this. Takeover mentioned that he's going to put a lot of fights like this all over the world. He mentioned that he's going to put fights in New York City. He mentioned in San Francisco. He also mentioned Africa. Takeover is doing his thing. He's putting Saudi Arabia on the map as one of the best entertaining company that's going to showcase a lot of boxing, a lot of UFC. I won't be surprised he gets involved in golf and other tennis and other types of sports. He's doing his thing. Everybody was happy. Duran was there giving pointers to an Arabic fighter, which is good. Everybody had a smile. Everybody enjoyed himself. The commentators were doing a good job. Everybody was there. Sean Porter. You got Darren Barker. There were a lot of good people there for this fight. Everybody put a good effort on this. It was pure entertainment. I enjoyed it. I'm waiting for the next fight card. I believe in a month or so. I enjoyed it. I thought they were all pretty good. It was pretty decent. Somebody mentioned that this was the best fight card that they'd ever seen. The fight, they were all good, but I don't know if anybody ever remembered Don King putting fight cards just like this. Don King was putting a lot of good fights. And also Bob Arum. A lot of people don't realize back in the days, Don King was the man. He would put 6 or 8 good fights just like this, where 4 or 5 of them were title fights. And he was paying these fighters a lot of money back then. Somebody also mentioned that the light heavyweight division, where you have Artur Bertovit, Dmitry Bivol, you have David Benavidez, Dave Morrell, and I'm going to name 4 other fighters. Joshua Buatsi, Callum Smith, Anthony Jardine, and London Arthur. You got a lot of good fights between all these people. And I believe that David Benavidez and Dave Morrell is going to beat all these guys up. I believe David Benavidez is going to beat any one of these Russians. I would love to see David Benavidez versus Artur Bertovit. That'd be a good fight. It's a slugfest. They're going to be right on top of each other. They're not going to move. The referee just has to stand back and let them fight. If it's Dmitry Bivol versus Dave Benavidez, he's going to move around. He's going to counterpunch. He's a harder fight for Dave Benavidez. I'm not saying Dave Benavidez can't beat them. I believe he will. But he's just a trickier fighter. Where Artur Bertovit is tricky, but he's going to stand in front of you. He's not moving. They're going to pound on each other. David Morrell is a good fighter that needs experience. Once he gets that experience, he's going to beat all these guys too. It's a very good fighter, David Morrell. I was impressed when David Benavidez fought David Morrell. And a lot of people said to me, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. David Benavidez is going to lose. And I said, no, David is going to win. And he's going to win. The way he won is the way I said it. And I believe that if David Benavidez or David Morrell fights Joshua Buatsi, Callum Smith, Anthony Jardine, London Arthur, they will beat all these guys up too. I'm a David Benavidez fan. I can't wait till he fight Artur Bertovit or Dmitry Bivol. Also, you got David Morrell too in the mix. So the light heavyweight division is full of a lot of good fights, a lot of excitement. And I hope they can make these fights pure entertainment for the fan. You also have the haters like Abel Sanchez. He mentioned that David Benavidez can't beat Canelo, or David Benavidez can't beat Arthur Bertovit or Dmitry Bivol. And this is the same Abel Sanchez that mentioned that the Triple G could beat Andre Ward, kept calling out Andre Ward, but at the end, he didn't want to fight Andre Ward. In my opinion, Andre Ward would have beat Triple G. And this is the same Abel Sanchez that was hating on Crawford and said that Crawford can't beat Errol Spence Jr. Whatever Crawford do, Errol Spence Jr. does it better. And you see what happened to Errol Spence Jr. He got knocked out. So Abel Sanchez was wrong again. And this is the same Abel Sanchez that's dogging Crawford and said that Crawford's not going to beat Canelo when they fight in September. And I'm taking Crawford to beat Canelo this September. So how many times Abel Sanchez got to be wrong? You know, he was wrong about Andre Ward. He was wrong about David Benavidez. He's wrong about Terence Crawford. And twice for Terence Crawford. Oh, he mentioned he can't beat Errol Spence. Now he mentioned he can't beat Canelo. And with David Benavidez, he mentioned he can't beat David Benavidez can't beat Canelo, and David Benavidez can't beat any one of these two Russians. And I disagree with everything he said. And so far, guess what? Crawford beat Errol Spence. Triple G didn't want to fight Andre Ward. And now you got David Benavidez against the Russians, or Canelo, whichever one wants it. And you got Terence Crawford against Canelo. And the funny part is that Terence Crawford was standing next to Dmitry Bivol, and they're almost the same identical height. Dmitry Bivol is just a little bigger, but Terence Crawford is not small. Let me know what you think about these fights in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. To me, it was a success. It was pure entertainment. Would I buy it again? Of course I will. In a heartbeat. Where are you going to get pure entertainment for $26? Let me know what you think about the fights, the fighters, my comments. Let me know. Like, share, subscribe, comment. Give me your opinion. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.